Amid the eerie silence of the abandoned riverside asylum, where the air is heavy with the weight of forgotten memories, a chilling story unfolds. The dilapidated hospital, with its broken windows and creaking floorboards, hides more than just the echoes of the past. Suffering. Unraveling the sinister mysteries that fester within its decaying walls is a task for the brave, for in the shadows, a fearsome guardian, his footsteps echoing like whispers of the damned, guards the horrible secrets that refuse to stay buried. As the moon casts an ominous glow on the haunted hallways, a ghoulish janitor watches your every move with malevolent intent. It happened on September 22, 1997. The rain was pouring heavily that night, making the road slippery and visibility almost non-existent. Beatrice, a young woman with brown hair and lively eyes, was driving cautiously on the road after a long day of work. Suddenly, the headlights of another car appeared unexpectedly, causing her to swerve abruptly and lose control. The impact was inevitable. When she regained consciousness, Beatrice was being carried on a stretcher to an old and imposing building. The weather-worn sign read San Judas Hospital. The hallways were long and silent, with peeling walls and an air of abandonment. A nurse in a white uniform introduced herself as Samantha, while a middle-aged doctor with a serious and deep gaze observed closely. "I'm Dr. Josue," he said, trying to reassure her. "You are in good hands now." Beatrice was placed in a room on the top floor of the hospital. The large window provided a view of the rest of the building, and the dim light from the nearby street lamp cast dancing shadows on the walls. The room had a musty smell, and the sheets seemed to have seen better days. Discomfort, exhaustion, and pain made her fall asleep quickly. In the middle of the night, a soft noise woke her. It was the sound of a broom sweeping the floor. She turned and saw a figure in the doorway. A man in an old uniform was holding a broom, with vacant eyes, seemingly unaware of her presence, focused on his task. Frightened, Beatrice rubbed her eyes, and when she opened them again, the janitor had disappeared. The following morning, still shaken by the nocturnal vision, she tried to convince herself that it was merely a hallucination caused by the trauma of the accident. However, something inside her felt that there was more to that vision than just a trick of the mind. As night fell, the hospital took on an even darker atmosphere. The once silent hallways now seemed to whisper forgotten stories. Lights occasionally flickered, and the wind howled through poorly sealed windows, creating a chorus of eerie moans. Beatrice, still trying to recover from the accident and the previous night's vision, began to notice strange behavior in the hospital staff. They moved mechanically, avoiding eye contact and speaking in monotone tones. During one of her trips to the bathroom, she crossed paths with Dr. Josue, who appeared to be muttering something while staring at an empty wall. Later, as she attempted to get a glass of water, Beatrice was approached by Samantha, the nurse, with tired eyes and a trembling voice. She whispered, "Don't trust everything you see here, and please avoid leaving your room after midnight." Before Beatrice could ask more, Samantha quickly walked away, casting nervous glances over her shoulders. The feeling that something was terribly wrong grew with each passing minute, and Beatrice felt increasingly like prey in a sinister web. Midnight was approaching, and with it, a sense of apprehension filled Beatrice's room. The silence was almost deafening, interrupted only by the dripping of a faucet and the creaking of boards as someone walked in the corridors. Then, punctually at midnight, the sound of the broom sweeping the floor echoed again. The janitor was back, but this time he wasn't alone. He was closely followed by Dr. Josue and Samantha, both with vacant expressions and distant gazes. They moved like puppets under the janitor's command, who, with his broom, appeared to be conducting a macabre orchestra. Beatrice watched from behind her room's door. She noticed that as the janitor swept, small sparks emerged from the floor. Wherever they touched, the floor seemed to come to life, contorting and forming agonizing faces that quickly vanished. Fear and curiosity mixed within her. Who was this janitor? Why did Dr. Josue and Samantha seem to be under his command? And what would happen if they saw her after midnight? During the day, as the hospital seemed to regain a semblance of normalcy, Beatrice decided to investigate. She walked through the corridors, searching for any clues that could explain the nocturnal occurrences. In a dark room filled with dusty boxes and old furniture, she found a stack of old newspaper clippings. The clippings told the story of a janitor who had worked at the hospital for decades. He was known for his dedication to his job and his obsession with keeping the hospital clean at any cost. One night, after confronting a group of doctors about a spill in the hallway, he was found dead, broom still in hand. Since then, rumors began to circulate about hauntings in the hospital, with reports of the janitor's apparitions and unexplained events occurring at midnight. As she continued her search, Beatrice discovered records of previous patients. To her surprise, many of them had never left the hospital. And most disturbing of all, the hospital hadn't admitted new patients for years. She began to question why she had been admitted there and whether she had truly been in an accident or if everything was a trap. The feeling of being watched intensified. Beatrice felt she needed to uncover the truth before the next midnight arrived. Night fell once more, accompanied by a palpable sense of terror. Beatrice, now aware of the dangers surrounding her, decided not to hide but to confront whatever was happening. She armed herself with a flashlight and an iron bar she found in one of the abandoned rooms. As midnight approached, the hospital seemed to come to life. Shadows moved along the walls and unintelligible whispers filled the corridors. And then he appeared. The janitor, broom in hand, sweeping the floor with supernatural determination. This time, however, he was clearly aware of her presence and his vacant, penetrating eyes fixed on her. Dr. Josue and Samantha, still under the janitor's command, began to approach her with slow, mechanical movements. Trying to keep calm, Beatrice called out to them, hoping that some trace of humanity remained in them. For a moment, Samantha seemed to hesitate and a tear rolled down her pale face. But with a sudden, sharp movement of his broom, the janitor made her and Josue advance even faster toward Beatrice. Realizing that talking to them would not help, Beatrice decided to run, trying to find an escape route or a safe place. The night seemed endless, and every corridor and room appeared to be a trap waiting for its next victim. The clock in the hallway showed it was almost 3 in the morning when Beatrice found an old wing of the hospital, seemingly forgotten by time. The windows were covered in dust, but she could see the moon shining outside, a glimmer of hope amid the darkness. The janitor and his followers were getting closer, their footsteps echoing through the empty corridors. Beatrice knew she had to act quickly. She used the iron bar to break one of the windows, creating a possible escape route. But as she looked down, she realized she was on the 3rd floor. Taking a deep breath and summoning all her courage, Beatrice tied together bedsheets and curtains, creating an improvised rope. She secured it to an old radiator and began to descend. The janitor, noticing her escape attempt, quickened his pace and reached the room just as Beatrice was almost reaching the ground. With one last look at the hospital, which had nearly become her eternal prison, she ran into the forest surrounding the building, using the darkness to her advantage. The dawn found Beatrice exhausted but alive on a nearby road. A solitary driver gave her a lift to the nearest town, where she finally found safety. San Judas Hospital remained imposing and mysterious, hiding its secrets and shadows. But Beatrice knew the truth and vowed never to return to that accursed place.